Brew Crew, we are here. And there's been some changes. What are the changes? Well, an intro. What an intro, am I right? Made by our dear friend Finn Richards. It's beautiful, it's 8-bit, it's Star Warsy, but it's not Star Wars, alright?
It's not Star Wars.
No copyright.
Alright, Disney.
Stay away, Mickey Mouse.
Stay away. Oh!
And then we've also, for the people on YouTube, there's a video.
Yay!
You can see us. Hello, if you're seeing us for the first time.
For you.
That is, yeah.
This is what we look like. I'm sorry.
But audio versions are available on Spotify, so you can always just go over there.
Exactly. Or just don't look at us on YouTube.
Well, you do have to pay for Spotify, don't you?
Ooh.
You can pay to get rid of us. That's it.
Yeah. If you're a student, you can pay a little bit less to listen.
And get rid of us.
Exactly. So get a degree just so that you can pay less for Spotify.
Yeah, that's girl math. Shall we get into the Star Wars brewing and crewing?
Yes. Let's get into it. So first, we're going to discuss the news of what has happened recently. There's not much. It's mainly just smaller things. First off, poor James L. Jones, icon.
Very small thing.
Yeah, very, very tiny. Sorry, James.
I mean, a lot of people thought he was already dead.
That's just a bit rude, isn't it?
And I didn't realise how old he was. He was 93.
Yeah.
I think when he died.
I thought he had only just retired from playing Darth Vader as well.
But no, he was gone a long time. So once I heard 93, I was like,
wow.
Fair enough. I mean, it's still quite upsetting because he was the voice of Darth Vader and he's got other roles as is it Mufasa?
Yeah, Lion King. He didn't even get to live for his own live action movie.
No, he didn't.
No, I bet he was really looking forward to that.
But he was an iconic character in it. In Star
He was an
Wars.
iconic man.
Iconic man. His voice was a voice of...
His voice was a voice.
His voice was a voice and it was a good
Honestly,
voice.
serenade me. Once I'm up in heaven and I hear him, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm staying here. Unless I'm in hell, which hopefully he's not there. Otherwise, it's a bit rough. Sorry, Jamie. Maybe God got confused about Darth Vader and James L. Jones being different people.
No, but Darth Vader then becomes Anakin Skywalker again.
God, poor Hayden Christensen. He's got it in for him when he goes down.
Is he going to be up and down because they think Darth Vader's real?
They're like, well, you got redeemed, but you also killed a lot of people, so...
Anyway, let's not get into ethics here.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
true.
Star Wars, there is no ethics in Star Wars.
So, R.I.P. James L. Jones, you will be missed.
You've got the new, was it Lego Rebuild the Galaxy Star Wars show out, which we've watched, and we quite enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it a lot. I feel like there's a lot of potential for future content for it as well, because I feel like they're just going to be travelling this galaxy, and then there's obviously endless possibilities that they could do.
And it feels like, I mean, it's a little bit of an excuse to make custom Lego sets that are kind of cool, like the Dark Millennium Falcon or all these sets, but they are cool sets.
Yeah, fork out 150 big ones, and you can have this slightly different model of the Millennium Falcon that's a different colour. Wow, crazy. You get Darth Jar Jar, which I think was interesting. I really liked Servo. I've got a soft
droid
spot.
in it,
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for silly little droids in Star Wars, and I actually got emotional when he died.
I don't know if it's the same person or group of people that write their Lego Star Wars stuff, but they're always on point. They know what's funny.
I loved the introduction when it was the of all the different Star Wars characters with the
the Star Wars intro.
Yeah, and then Servo was like, guys, you're watching Star Wars, enjoy. And then when he died, it was just him staying silent, staring at you glitching, which was a bit of a whiplash, but, it's fine.
That was scary. But again, it's entertaining. The Lego Star Wars writers get them doing the real thing. Yeah.
So it was magical. Definitely want more of that. If you haven't seen it, check it out, because it was very fun. It's not very long.
4 episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah, you thought there was more.
Yeah.
This isn't.
So it's a very easy thing to watch.
What have we got next?
Well, we're going to go to the main part of the episode.
No, we're not. We've got more.
Is there more news?
Yeah.
You said there was a little news.
Well, I don't know if they're little to me or to everyone, but we've got the Kelnaka comic released from the Acolyte. It's a one-shot comic, so there's only one. It's not a series, but I picked it up in a comic book shop. I didn't realise it was out yet. I think it's a very good read. I think I read a review where it said it's not really about Kelnaka, it's more about his previous Padawan. And I kind of agree with that, but also Kelnaka doesn't really speak. He's very stoic. He's a lot less vocal than
when he
Chewbacca.
Speaks, does it just say like "grr" on the comic.
He doesn't really even grr in the comic. It
just nods.
Yeah, it's through his eyes with the Padawan. But I think it reveals some very interesting backstory about Kelnaka. It doesn't go. It goes back to the High Republic days. So if you've read the books, you'll definitely enjoy it because you realise he's at a lot of significant events. But I mean, if you haven't read the High Republic, I do still recommend it because it's interesting. But I don't know if we're going to see any more of Kelnaka after this. He might be in the High Republic books and comics, but because...
I would imagine so.
Yeah, but because the Acolyte Season 2 isn't... I mean, he's dead anyway. Spoiler alert. He's dead anyway, so I don't think he would have been making much of an appearance anyway, except in flashbacks.
Well, it depends where the High Republic timeline, it depends what they do with it, because it seems like not even they have a clue what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
They were apparently going to make a trilogy at some point, and then the Acolyte, and I know they're still doing the books, but that's coming to an end with the end of Phase 3 of the books.
I'm not looking forward to that.
So it's an era that's been built out a lot in the books, but when it's come to the screen, it's not really been built out at all. And even Acolyte was at the end of the High Republic. It was barely in the High Republic.
It said the last few days, but I don't know when exactly it ended.
So,
is Venestra just so corrupt that she called the whole thing off?
Well, pretty much. It ends about 100 years before Phantom Menace. I know that. High Republic ends there, and that's when Acolyte takes place. I don't know if it's responsible for the end. I guess you could argue with Venestra being corrupt and everything. Yeah. That it might be.
But we don't know why or what happened, which a season 2 would have helped with. But anyway, and then the Ahsoka comics came out, just a comic of the TV show. There's not really any new content there. The variant covers are pretty though.
You've got a new
I've got
Darth Maul comic as well.
Ooh.
Which is about him under Sidious before episode 1. Some good stuff there. I mean, I'm a big fan of Darth Maul, so I've read a few of them.
I'll read anything with him in it. And then lastly, Star Wars Outlaws. Haven't played it. Mixed reviews.
Yeah, I think it was rated badly or something, so I was like, oh, I'm not going to buy it then. Or it has some issues.
But
I wasn't too fast
all games
with it.
now, when they release, have issues. It's almost expected for there to be teething problems when a game first comes out, and it's only really worth buying it a few years after it comes out, because by then...
Well, people think it's to get money because the game gets so expensive, they then need to release it to get at least some money back, so then they can use it to actually make the game, finish the game, basically.
Oh. It's like a student loan, but for video game loan.
That's what people think. Well, I prefer Bethesda, where they just release a broken game and that's it. They've been doing it for years. They know what's up.
Oh, God, not Skyrim. Okay, that is the news now done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Shall we get into the main part of the episode now?
Yes, main part, Rogue One. Woo! Personally, one of my favourite Star Wars films ever.
Yeah, it came out in 2016 between the gap of The Force Awakens and the infamous The Last Jedi.
It made over $1 billion because people, were excited about The Force Awakens. And I think it definitely deserves it. I mean, it was like a runaway hit, kind of. I don't think they expected to do so well, which I think is why they made Solo a Star Wars story, but then that one didn't get $1 billion.
I think the original plan, from what I can tell, was going to be Skywalker Saga film, a Star Wars story, Skywalker Saga film, Star Wars story, Skywalker Saga film, Star Wars story.
Oh, what happens to the last one?
Many people theorise it was Obi-Wan, because when, in interviews, the maker of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show said they had to adapt it from a film script and stuff like this. Oh. So many people think that Kenobi was meant to come out after episode 9, but because episode 8 did so bad, no one went to go watch Solo, even though Solo is very highly reviewed, the viewership was low, they decided not to go forward with it, and especially after episode 9 even though it got views still, it was rated quite badly.
Yeah, it got a lot of reviews.
The 5 stages of grief with it. But I think they canned it, and then when The Mandalorian came out and it did well, they were like, let's make TV shows of everything. Yeah. And they found the Obi-Wan one and went, yep, let's make a TV show out of it.
Yep. Boba Fett, yep. Don't even check the script, don't even check the runtime. Yep.
That might have been the problem with the Obi-Wan show, was it was originally meant for a film.
Yeah, and it did feel dragged out, so I honestly believe that.
But it was episode 8 being so controversial that led to the viewership of Solo being low. That led to us not getting that. But Rogue One, because Force Awakens is a pretty decent film. I know a lot of people hate on all the sequels, but Force Awakens, I'm happy with. It's all right.
I like Force Awakens, but we're here to talk about Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One. Let's get into it. It's a film set before episode 9. Film set. I think
Technically, all of them are set before episode 9.
It's a film set before episode 9,
Yeah.
episode 8, episode 7,
Episode
all the
6,
episodes.
episode 5, episode 4.
I think I saw the number 4 in my head and somehow read it as a 9. My dyslexia just
Wow.
created that.
You didn't even read it, you just thought it.
Thought of 4 and then I was like, that's a 9. It's not. Yeah, before episode 4, it's like 5 days before. I mean, it's a few flashbacks.
Immediately, I think.
Well, it's like...
It ends with Leia.
Yeah,
Hope.
but, you know, when they... How long does it take to travel through hyperspace? Because when they go to Jeddah, to Yavin, and then to the other planet, if that's like a couple hours... It could be quite
a while.
It could be quite a while.
Could be a few hours, could even be a few days, but I think this is more in the hours territory.
I reckon the film start to finish, so where we see Cassian or meeting up with the guy who has one arm, who then shoots.
But it starts with Jinnah, so it's young.
Yeah.
And she's about...
That's more of a flashback, though, I would say.
Technically, it does start there, I say. Because we haven't seen...
Well, actually...
We haven't seen adult Jinnah, so at that point, and it introduces her with the young version of her, so I think it's part of the plot. Because it doesn't also go to, like, 20 years later or 15 years later or something. Just goes straight in. So I'd argue, because you flash back to it halfway through the film when she has some nightmares, I would say that's a flashback. I would say this is part of the plot.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we get into our normal episode format?
Yep.
So if you're new around here, this is where we go into our winners and losers. The winners of the film, project, TV show, whatever we're talking about, and then the losers. We have picked out our winners and losers and not talked to each other about them. And there may be some arguments.
Maybe.
Anyway, how about you start this time?
Well, first winner, obviously, Jinnah. So I think she's such an incredible character and her growth over this entire story, because it spans a lot of her life. You know, it's most of it. And when we're introduced to her, she's really young. She watches her mother die right in front of her. Her father basically kidnapped in front of her. And then flash forward, she's had to deal with everything by herself.
She had to be raised by Saw Gerrera.
Oof, wonder. But she still turned out all right. And then she gets rescued by the rebels.
Broken out of prison, so are you sure she's done all right?
Well, at least she's not dead, you know?
Yes.
That she's done better than some people. But, well, she gets rescued by the rebels, but it is basically against her will. They're trying to use her to get Galen Erso's things, but when she asks what's in it for her, she's promised freedom to go free. That's all she wants. But obviously, by the end of the film, she doesn't go free. But her development and caring for the cause, the whole movie, she doesn't want her freedom in the end. She wants to get those plans up there. She wants to succeed. And I think that is such interesting growth, because obviously we get the growth of Andor over multiple episodes of a TV show. But Jyn gets just this movie, but I think they do it really, really well. And the scene when she's watching the hologram of her father is that turning point. I think she sees how much her father has done for this rebellion for the past 15, 20 years. And she sees how important it is to him. And so when she sees that hologram, I think that's the turning point. Because I think she started to care before that, but...
Her reaction during the hologram, how she just falls to her knees.
It's absolutely insane. She doesn't even notice that the entire city behind her is blowing up. She just is trying to process what happened and what now she has to do.
And it's not like... I feel like in other films, for some reason, she'd be able to recite the whole message.
Yeah.
But when she goes to recite it, she doesn't really recite it properly.
Exactly.
Because she's just so...
Her mind's everywhere.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what to say.
Based.
And then And then Cassian calls her the messenger for the message, but she is so much more than the messenger by the end of the film. Because when you hear that, you're like, oh, she's just the messenger. No, she's the one who does the entire thing. But the whole team helps to get those plans up to the ship. But then, by the end of it, they all, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
there
she's
is
insane.
a nice quote from Jyn Erso, which shows her growth. It's the one where it's you don't notice the Imperial flags if you don't look up.
Yeah.
Which I think is very powerful, because in places where there is some sort of dictatorship like the Empire, I think a lot of people will just keep their head down and just get to work. And Jyn Erso kind of reflects that. And then as she goes on, she realised that not only is she connected to everything through her father and her father's work, but she needs to do more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they've got Death Star. It's a massive Death Star. What are they going to do?
She saw firsthand the damage that it could do as well. So it's not like she suddenly switched. She saw what they're capable of. They saw they can destroy hundreds, thousands of lives, and then onto billions of lives just in one
and they
fell
will
swoop.
press the button because they did it to Jeddah. Exactly.
So it's just, her story is insane. I think she's a very underrated character, even though she's just in one film. She haunts. I think she should be haunting the narrative. Where's her haunting? Because she's the one who got the plans there. No one mentions her in the original trilogy, and don't say it's because they didn't think of her yet. But I feel like Leia would know who she is.
1977, 1976. George Lucas is sitting at a table writing a script. Does he come up with the name Jyn Erso?
You don't know Jyn Erso yet, but your kids are gonna love it.
It's like the Clone Wars. You don't know about the Clone Wars yet, but your kids
are gonna love
they're
it.
gonna love it.
Yeah. So who's one of your winners?
It is one of my winners is, I think, one of the best characters in the film, and he has a similar growth to Jyn Erso, but in a different light. Oh. And that is it Bodhi, I believe?
Bodhi!
The pilot. Mm-hmm. He's one of my winners because he goes from absolutely scared and tortured. Throughout it, he's trying to do the right thing, but it's like he doesn't know how to do the right thing, or he doesn't have the skills to do the right thing. Mm. He gets the message from Galen, and then takes it and tries to take it to Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera tortures him, and after you just see he's mentally disturbed. And I think at that point he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows he needs to help people, but he has no idea how. And as it goes along, he realises that he himself is not useless. He has skills that the rebellion needs as well.
Yeah.
Not just as a pilot, but as they went to infiltrate Scarif, he's the one who got them through the shield. Mm. And then that then led to the rebellion, or like General Radus coming in and helping them. And that was the first time the rebels ever faced the Empire properly one-on-one.
Yeah.
And it was all started from him. He just, when he's then on Scarif, he takes charge, and you can see he's a bit nervous about taking charge, but he knows that's what he's got to do.
Yeah.
And he ends up being a very strong character. And I think when I first watched the film, which would have been years ago, I thought he was a bit lame. But as I watch it back now, I realise he's lame, but he's still useful. He's still incredibly useful, and that's what rebellions are built on. They're built on everybody, not just the cool people like Luke Skywalker, Leia, Han Solo, Andor. But you've got to have the lame people in there as well. Yeah. These lame people still have skills that are useful and are still incredibly important. So yeah, I like Bodhi. Do you agree or disagree?
I do agree with that. I only thought he would be like a loser because every single time I watch the film, for the life of me, I cannot remember if he lives or dies. Every single time. I could not, for the life of me, when I rewatched it last night, I could not tell you if he lived or died.
Actually, I can't remember his death scene. Was there a death scene?
Exactly. No, I could not remember for the life of me. But then I rewatched it, and it turns out after he runs through the shooting to get the cable into the ship, he says, "This is for you, Galen," which also suggests a personal relationship with Galen Erso.
Yeah.
However, then a stormtrooper throws an explosive into the ship, and then the ship blows up, and that's how he dies. But I cannot remember if he dies, if he lives, how he dies.
Oh,
and
the Death Star does blow up Scarif, so they're all dead no matter what, even if they're still breathing somewhat.
I know, but I just cannot remember for the life of me how he does. I can remember how Chiru and Baze die. I can remember how Jin and Andor die, obviously. I can remember how Krennic dies, obviously. But I just cannot remember how Bodhi dies, for the life of me. And every single time I watch the film, I'm like, oh, I wonder if Bodhi makes it.
That's because he still is lame, but he's still important.
Mm.
And that's why he's like an underdog winner who's still unnoticed.
I think it's because his death is also really quick. Like, Jin and Andor's obviously the massive explosion coming towards them. They have time. His is just explosion.
He's like the retail workers that do everything, and the whole store relies on them.
This is the uni students in a retail store. The whole thing would go crashing down.
Yeah.
So
when they do eventually die, you don't notice it, but everything then, well, he managed to do his job. He sent the message, but if everything didn't blow up, you'd go, hold on.
Yeah, his story is
Where's
very
he
good.
gone?
So it's a nice surprise every time when he dies. I'm like, oh, that's how it... Because I swear he made it out. But obviously the whole planet blows up, so I don't think anyone did. But...
They kind of have to, because they're not in the rest of the films or any media.
Exactly.
So they have to die.
He's not... Oh, that's true.
It's like, could we just shoot him? No, fans will think they come back.
Well, they
then.
put in
we have to use the Death Star then. There's no way they can come back from that.
They put in, like, the club scene in Return of the Jedi. Put my boy Bodhi in a ship, I'll be happy. He must have survived. But, do we have another winner? Do you want to go into a loser?
I have, like, sort of a winner. It's not really a character, it's characters. It's the Death Troopers. With their little muffled speaking and their masks and the guns. It's Death Trooper, isn't it?
The ones in black?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are cool.
They're weird glitch speaking.
Yeah,
it's like
very
encrypted
menacing.
speech, isn't it?
Yeah.
That only then they can hear.
Very menacing.
But there is a point where they like chase after a character, and you hear them go the. And it's like, are they trying to say, "Oi, get back here"? But it's all encrypted, so they just hear nothing.
Just pss, 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 pss. Here, rebels.
So
I don't know.
I would like to see some identification, but it's just. And the civilian's just like, what?
Sorry? Say that again. Say that again in my good ear, please.
Because we've never seen them turn it off. Whenever I've seen them in Star Wars media, it's always been that weird encrypted speech. But yeah, they're one of my
Donald Duck
winners. And then I do have a quick winner, and that's General Radis, because his name, Radis.
Oh, that's rad.
It's rad. Also makes you think of a radish, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And his hammerhead idea with the Star Destroyers, brilliant.
That was so... I got chills with
also,
that.
he's just ready to fight the Empire.
Exactly.
He's just like, let's go fight.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not fighting. He's like, oh, damn it. And he goes back to his ship. As soon as he hears someone's landed on Scarif, he's like, let's go! He's like, let's get down there.
He was waiting for that.
Corvettes, just crash into them. Let's get going.
He didn't even know he had that plan yet. He was ready.
At the end of the film, it is his ship that gets like invaded by Darth Vader, which then Leia's Corvette then escapes from. So I think he does die.
Yeah.
But then he was
so good.
Brilliant.
And then when he was like, leave it to me, guys, when Bodhi rings in, the relief he must feel, obviously that's right before he dies, which I now know. The relief he must have felt that when Tahir will take it from here must have been immense. Like, absolute lifesaver. I also liked the blue leader. I can't remember his name, because when he's in his ship on Scarif, he helps the fighters on the beach. He like shoots some of the enemies or something, and he's grinning to himself when that happens, and then like Baze and everyone else going, yeah, go on. It was just such
that's a good moment.
It was just such a sweet moment. Shortly after that, he crashes and dies. You know, this film is not a very happy film, but
but it's like...
he gets a brief moment of happiness where he's helped his fellow rebels, and his fellow rebels are extremely grateful, and it was just so lovely. It was hope. It was the definition of the rebellion.
It reminds me of when Han Solo came in the Millennium Falcon to help Luke Skywalker in his X-Wing for Death Star. It's someone comes in the ship, swoops out of nowhere, saves the day. It's lovely. It's amazing.
And what I do like is that they've got a moment like that in The Force Awakens as well, when Poe comes to the rescue, And then Finn's like, that's a good pilot or something like that. And then it's Poe Dameron. So I do really like moments like that for some reason, where it's just pure helping because you want to, and because you need to as well.
Shall
it's just,
get into the losers?
Yeah.
I only really have one loser because all the characters in this film are very well developed, thought out.
Yeah.
It's quite struggling. The only loser I really have is a bit of an L moment for Tarkin. Because he goes onto the Death Star, says, "Oh, hello, Krennic. Go on, try out your weapon. Give it a go." And Krennic's like, "Okay, boss." Tries it out. And then Tarkin's like, "Oh, I like this. It's mine now." Krennic's like, "No, it's my baby." And Tarkin's like, "Nah, take control. It's mine now." And then while this is going on, he's basically doing a coup against Krennic to take control of the Death Star, which then leads to him being on the Death Star when it blows up, and then it kills him. All because he decided to take another man's achievement.
Technically, Krennic was also taking another man's achievement because it was Urso's weapon.
Yeah, but you also had to organise like the whole thing and keep it secret.
Oh, yeah.
It's
well
massive.
done, Krennic.
He kept it secret until the last minute, to be honest.
That is true. Well, Krennic, he's not really a loser. He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time constantly.
Yeah.
And he's just a bit of a wimp overall, to be honest.
That's what I had to say on Krennic as well. I just feel I kind of feel bad for him because it's he loses his job basically in 2 days, and it's not really his fault.
And his life.
And his life, he does eventually die.
Well, his job was his life as well, to be fair.
But he has a whistleblower, and he's like, and he has to try and find him and hunt him down and everything. And then when Tarkin orders him to use the Death Star on Jeddah, he's like, "Yeah, sure, boss." And then he goes to his other boss, Darth Vader, and he's like, why'd you fire at Jeddah? You shouldn't have done that. We had to explain it was a mining accident to the Senate. It's really stupid of you. And Krennic was like, "That's Tarkin's orders. Tarkin's taking control. Can you talk to the Emperor for me and make it seem like I've done a good job?" And Darth Vader's like, "Shut up." So again, it's like working in retail when you have two managers that tell you to do different things. Tarkin told him to fire at Jeddah, and then the other manager, Darth Vader, told him that was a mistake and he shouldn't have done that, and now he's in trouble. Yeah. And it's like, well, the other manager told me. And they're like, well, I don't care what the other manager says. It's mental. He's fully placed at fault for Galen Erso, and it's like, yeah, kind of is, but it's just like if someone whistleblow's, there's not much you can really do. And then he decides to go to Scarif so he can basically prove
Stalk
that
Erso.
Galen Erso, there was no way he could have discovered.
Can we get Galen
Erso's
voicemails, texts?
Basically, prove himself innocent and say Galen Erso was just really good. There's no way we would have caught him.
Yeah.
And then he's sitting there saying, "Get up all the files." And he looks out the window. It's like, oh, it's a nice planet. I need to come on holiday here again. Boom!
It's
explosions.
paradise.
It is paradise.
It is quite funny how they've gone from Tatooine being used all the time. They're like, all right, paradise planet, why not? Not desert planet.
And he just sees these explosions, and you just like, you can tell he's just proper annoyed.
You can see the disbelief on his face. He's like, oh,
and he's like,
my God.
And then,
not
like, everyone just kind of looks at him, and he goes, well, "Carry out the procedures then."
Yeah, dude, go on.
But everyone look at him means he's now in charge.
Yeah, that's annoying.
And he's just like...
He's just trying to be on holiday. He pretended to come for voicemails and personal files when actually he's got a sunbed reserved outside. He's gone down at 5 a.m, put his towel down, saying Krennic in nice calligraphy.
He probably could have requested the files from a Star Destroyer and have them brought up to him.
That's true. He could have just got them to send it.
I've lost the Death Star. Darth Vader's mad at me. I'm going to go Scarif and just chill on the beach while I flick through some messages and stuff, but no.
Flick through Galen Erso's text to him, and he's like, well, he didn't say anything about a rebellion on my text, so it must be fine. And then he got forced to actually do something.
But no, I feel more bad for him. I don't think he's a loser.
I think Tarkin is a loser as well, just every single time. Uncanny Valley vibes.
Well, that's because he's animated.
I know. But they did some bits really well. You know when Tarkin was facing away, looking out the window, slightly in the dark, you could see his reflection in the window, slight darkness. That was really good. I feel like if they did less up-close face shots, it would have been really convincing. Maybe give Tarkin a slightly smaller role. But, you know, the CGI itself actually doesn't look that bad. It's just the whole time you're looking, all you can look at is think, why doesn't this look like a human? What is it? And just we are not there. I know this is 2016, which is almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago.
Which is almost 10, yeah.
I'm just gonna 10 years ago, 15, 20. So I know it definitely. We're still not there now.
I also think Tarkin's face is very angular, and unlike normal human faces, which tend to be more rounded. We're gonna go into our next section then. Is that correct? This next section is called Where. Why
would I rewatch?
That's it. That's what it stands for. If you didn't know.
English.
This is where we discuss the film and why we would go back and rewatch it compared to the other Star Wars films. What is something it does that no other film does as well, or it's just something it's good at. So this film, my rare points is, I think I mentioned it previously, is the characters. A lot of them are very well developed and flushed out and fleshed. That's the word. Not flushed out.
Flushed away. That's a different movie. Hugh Jackman turns up like the rat. You got Emma.
Yeah, it's Star Wars, all right. No, is that a DreamWorks film?
Yeah. Oh, Aardman and DreamWorks, I think.
Anyway, it's a Star Wars. This is Disney.
Yeah.
We can't talk about the rival. Come on.
Oh. Sorry, Mickey.
So, the characters are they're very well established, very well, and Andor just adds to it. But I feel like, as much as I love Andor, it's still not needed because the character of Cassian Andor is just very well written in Rogue One itself.
He says he's been in the fight since he was 6 years old, and that line tells you enough about how much this means to him. And to have but the show is so good that, I think it should exist just because it's so good. But yeah, even if it was this film by itself, I'd still be very attached to Andor.
Set design for the film.
Scarif.
No, it's not just Scarif. Jeddah. Jeddah felt like an actual war zone.
No, yeah, it did.
Felt like a complete war zone. And there's one scene where I think the characters are just talking, and behind them is a crashed X-wing just in the ground that's not been cleared up because it's an active war zone.
Yeah.
So it's same as in the real world. You might have a broken tank or a car just up in flames, destroyed. And it's left in the middle of the street because who's clearing it up? Everyone's fighting for their lives.
Outside of Jeddah as well, they had massive statues.
Of the Jedi that had been destroyed,
Yeah, that was very, very cool. I've not really seen that before. And then I'm wondering if that's gonna.
And there's beautiful new planets like Scarif. And there's revisits to old ones like Yavin 4. Yavin 4 tonight.
Yavin 4 looked so good.
Yavin 4 looked amazing. The whole film looks amazing. You look at stuff like Book of Boba Fett.
Oh.
And
you can literally see the cardboard they've made the set out of.
Yeah. And Mandalorian, it's pretty well done, but you can. If someone told you, oh, by the way, it's filmed in front of a screen, you'd go, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's very open and wide in season 1. But this is just so good. It's very well done. The aliens look brilliant.
But there were so many cool alien designs. I don't think some of them we hadn't seen before. So much detail for just background characters, which is the same as the original trilogy. George Lucas had so much detail for just a brief glimpse. And some of those aliens now club shitos, so it just means so much.
You had those people from the cantina, which is like, my friend doesn't like you, I don't like you either, and then everyone slices off his arm.
Yeah, classic. It's bleeding for some reason.
Andor bump into them.
Yeah,
and he's sorry, we don't want any trouble.
Yeah, I wonder how they got all the way to Tatooine. How did they got out of Jeddah City pretty quickly then?
Yeah, they must have.
Yeah, well, they were off.
They were on their way to the spaceport.
Too many scumbags around here. We're leaving. I don't like them.
He's like, I've got criminal convictions in 14 systems or something.
Nice.
So maybe you have to get out of there quick.
Let's make it 15.
I can't remember the exact line. But it just really feels like Star Wars, but it also feels like a Star Wars war movie. A lot.
Scarif takes me back to the trenches. I don't know when I've been in the trenches, but I'm sure it feels like a proper war. There is
Jeddah
stakes.
Does as well.
Yeah.
It feels like a Star Wars war movie. In the same way you've got Clone Wars that feels like a war, the TV show. This is, I think, the movie that gets the closest, because Episode 2, you see the opening battle of the war, and in episode 3 you just kind of see it coming to a close. You just see like 2 small battles. With this felt like multiple battles just pushing forward, everyone's struggling.
Exactly.
They're fighting in places that are like a war zone. The thing with episode 3 is that they either fighting in a new planet when it's Obi-Wan versus Grievous, or they're fighting with ships, which
in space.
Where they were on a planet that had been war ravaged.
Exactly.
And it's brilliant. It is the closest to a war movie.
Yeah. What I find really interesting though is that it does feel like a Star Wars film, but it also is its own thing, because the intro, it doesn't have the iconic crawl. It says a long time ago, the galaxy far away, and then just bang, straight in. And then that must have really thrown fans when in the cinema for a loop, because it felt weird to watch it. And then you've got Rogue One just as the title, and then Michael Giacchino's amazing score. But it's something different, but it still feels... Yeah, it still feels really good.
Same goes for a solo Star Wars story. I liked the Star Wars story format.
Exactly. I petition for more Star Wars stories. I do love a good Star Wars story, and I feel like now the Star Wars stories are all TV shows. But give me a movie, please.
It could be movies. I think there's rumours of them doing it with Rey, and there's always
I thought
rumours.
That was a trilogy.
Though. I think there's apparently going to be another Rey trilogy, but I've also heard there's going to be like a High Republic trilogy, but I think that's been canned now.
Whoa.
I think with Star Wars, like, some person has an idea, just like, oh, what if we do this? And then suddenly it gets leaked, and that's what everyone thinks. That's what's going to happen.
Like, oh, no, let's not do that. They still need the element of surprise. Also, another question. Will it make money? Yes or no? No? Yeah. No, canned. So that's important.
Do you have any other points for Rear?
It looks great. Cinematography, amazing. To quote Harry Styles, it feels like a movie.
It does indeed feel like a movie.
Yeah, it was just amazing. I sobbed my eyes out. Something different about this one is that when I watch other Star Wars properties, I do get upset. I know it's coming, but the more I watch Rogue One, the more I am in tears.
Because you connect to the characters more and more, because there's so many tiny details in this film.
Every time you rewatch, you notice something different. You notice a different character
like that crashed X-wing. I'd never noticed that before, and now it makes it feel much more like a war movie.
We got a winner, the crashed X-wing, my favourite character. It's so amazing, and obviously the story ends in a very different fashion to all the rest of the Star Wars properties. It ends in tragedy. All of our main characters die. You only really get that in the Acolyte, which is why I think that was very life-changing. But all of our main characters die, but the whole time you knew it was going to happen. It was always going to happen. Because you've watched the original trilogy, they're not there, and you know that once they're locked in and they can't get up, and then that Death Star fires, they're not getting out of it. And then there's a thing where if you don't see a character's body, they're not dead. We technically don't see about half their bodies, but that they're not coming back.
When you see it from space.
Those
shots are amazing when you just see the ripple of just the laser cannon of the Death Star just destroying the planet.
And then Krennic says it's beautiful, and it's like
beautiful.
In a dark way. It is beautiful but it's also, that if you see that when you're on the ground, you are not escaping unless you've got a ship that you're in and you are hyperspacing immediately. You are not making out of it. And I think that's, there's I don't want to say there's no hope, but that, they're not coming back. They didn't survive that, but they knew the risks when they went in, which is what makes them such strong characters as well. They went in there knowing that they're probably not going to come out. As long as those plans got out, nothing else mattered.
All they knew is that they needed to try. They couldn't submit to defeat just because there's a Death Star.
Exactly.
Well, shall we go on to the next section?
Shall we?
Reigning the Rancor. This is where we theorise that if we metaphorically could hop on top of a Rancor, take it by the reins.
The Rancor is called Star Wars in this case.
Yes. and the Rancor was Star Wars metaphorically as well. So metaphorically reigning a Rancor, which is metaphorically Star Wars. Basically, where would we like Star Wars to expand on this project more or go in a different direction? Just our own creative ideas.
Yeah.
For it. I mean, one thing you could say is more on the characters which we've got in Andor. So
We've got one character.
That's
but
one established already.
Andor season 2, very excited. And Diego Luna says himself, once you finish Andor season 2, you must have time to watch Rogue One afterwards. And that makes me very excited. Not because I might be like, oh, it's Bodhi or it's something like that. It's just because I want to be able to see the film in an entirely different light as well. Because when I'm seeing Andor, I'm seeing everything he went through in the TV show. And then there's going to be even more revealed about that. And because every single time you watch Rogue One, you notice something different or something else speaks to you, this time it's going to be not a complete change, but you're going to watch an entirely new context, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, I do hope in it, which is part of my reigning the Rancor, is I want more on the Imperial military, because it seems so much bigger after watching this film than it does in the original trilogy. In the original trilogy, you're like, oh, maybe it's like 3 Star Destroyers.
Whoa, there's a TIE fighter. Wow, I won't see another one for 5 days.
Where it's like in this one, you have a whole planet dedicated to just storage of data. And you see so many of these Star Destroyers throughout the whole film. You see Vader's castle. And they do touch on it on Andor Season 1 with the, is it ISB agent?
Probably.
It's the woman. And you have Wolf Yularen in it. But I think Krennic is part of the like weapons development. With Wolf Yularen, is that his name? He's in Clone Wars. He's like the voice of Clone Wars.
What does he say at the beginning of each episode?
I'm not sure. Yeah, pretty much that. He's like head of the ISB, which is the Imperial. It's like the information, spies.
Oh yeah, because he turns bad, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Disappointed.
Tarkin's is Grand Moff Tarkin, so I think he controls the outer rim and maybe mid rim.
He controls
planets. He controls the outer rim, and he's part of the military structure. And in Solo, we see like the actual army ground forces. There's so much that I would like to see more, because the Empire seems bloody massive.
Well, we are seeing Krennic and K2SO in season 2 of Andor, so I think because
we've seen Krennic.
I think
That's
so. Let me make sure.
Then that's exactly what I want.
Because if we see Krennic, we'll probably see this extended version of the Empire. As it is Krennic in season 2 Andor. I'm trying. Jesus Christ. My thumbs can only go so fast. Yes. Ooh. We got yes. Orson Krennic. Orson.
Is that his name?
Orson Krennic,
the villain. He's now a loser. He's gone. Orson. Is it because how can you have a name like Krennic?
Is it because of like
Orson?
Is it because it's like his lisp? He can't say arson, or he doesn't like to say
Orson Krennic. Nah.
We'll be in season 2, yeah, and it's the same actor as well, which is really good. But so if we're seeing, we could see K2SO as an Imperial droid. You know, we could see that lead up.
Yeah. Well, this is more about us taking control than what they're doing.
I know. But I would want that to happen. If I had control of what comes next, I would like to see K2SO be reprogrammed into the K2SO we see. Bless him. And I would like to see Krennic focusing on his part of the Empire to make it feel massive, because what Rogue One does well is make a TIE fighter actually feel scary and make the Empire feel scary. Yeah. The original trilogy is a little bit goofy, but we love it for that. And we know they're going to win.
More Radus, General Radus.
Oh, yes.
Because he seems like one of the main people in the Rebel Navy, as in terms of the Rebel ships. Yeah. He had quite a big ship. And
he got like a see-through floor and everything.
Yeah,
so
I know.
See everything.
I'm guessing he knows Akbar, but Akbar then it seems like he takes
just because they're the same species?
Of...
You think he knows him?
Yeah, I reckon. Both in the rebellion, both on the same planet.
They probably see each other like, whoa. Yeah. What do they call them? Calamari? You know? Like, is that... It's just so out of pocket. What do you mean, mon? Like, adding the mon does not do anything. If anything, it makes it worse because you tried to hide it.
Calamari.
But calamari is...
Caramali.
Caramelli is still... is still in the name. Does it even look like cannibal? I can't. What even is the word anymore? I forgot. Calamari.
Mon calamari.
Mon calamari. That's it. Does it even look like calamari? I thought calamari was like that breaded fish.
Squid, isn't it?
Squid? Calamari squid, you're right.
He looks a little squiddy.
A little squid. He gives more like... Oh, he gives more like frog. Frog squid.
Yeah, but then...
I'll put frog first. But it can't really be frog calamari, otherwise that's just too far.
I wouldn't mind a little bit more lore and cheddar. Because you've
got some in the High Republic.
Yeah, in the books.
Yeah.
That I've not read.
There's a audio transcript for Battle of Jeddah. So it's like a book, but it's got less words. That would be perfect for you. You just read the dialogue.
Just read the dialogue.
You can act it out if you really want.
Oh, we could do that for a podcast episode.
Copyright.
Oh.
Can't do that.
Well,
unless no one tells, then we could do that.
Do it on Patreon so people have to pay for it to then... Because if they don't copyright us... For it to be taken
down anyway.
Yeah.
Disney's got to pay us to even know it exists.
Exactly.
So by then, we're, 50p richer?
Yeah.
Thanks, Disney.
For the lawsuit, I'm sure.
Add a few more zeros on there and it'll be fine. Yeah, exactly. They sue us for 50p because they just want a refund. But our refund policy states you don't get it back.
You don't even have a Patreon or anything.
That's true. Yet. We don't have a refund policy yet. Anyone have any requests?
Anyway, so Jeddah, just a little more out on the Jedi and the protectors of the temple.
Yeah, those were very cool.
Do you have any other more reignings of the Rancor?
I think what you said about... Because I would like a bit more backstory about the characters, but...
They're already very well fleshed out.
Exactly. Ultimately...
To the point where it's not needed, but it would be nice.
Yeah, ultimately you know the end. Maybe like a Tales of the Rebellion type thing. Maybe it has a...
Short series.
Yeah, because they did a episode on... They did multiple episodes on Barriss Offee, and she was only in the Clone Wars for a little bit, and, I mean, Jyn got her own movie and stuff like that, so maybe a style like that I would love to see, because I think Star Wars' formula for the Tales of franchise, I think that is perfect.
They need to keep up with it.
They
It needs to come out one every year, and it could be of any period.
Because when the Tales of the Empire trailer came out, everyone was so excited, and when the series came out, it was so interesting just to see, because...
Both Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it going.
They're amazing. Oh, please.
Shall we go into our last section of the episode?
Yes.
Gift wrap.
Gift wrap.
This is something that Lucasfilm, Star Wars, Disney, Mickey Mouse, whatever you want to call the entity, has given us in this film that we love. Something that it's just like it's a cool moment, or it's beautiful shot, or if it's lovely music, just anything that feels like a gift. And for me, everyone, you're going to say this as well. There's no doubt. It's the Vader scene. Where he's staying in the corridor. That's a massive gift to any Star Wars fan.
Not a massive gift to the continuity.
It does kind of mess it up a little bit.
Yeah, but he's just a little bit ill, bless him.
He just gets tired, doesn't he?
Yeah, he did too much slaying.
You know, when you get really angry and you start punching stuff, and then it's halfway through you realise what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of feel bad the rest of the day.
He didn't not really in a conscious way though. He just got really tired and he felt bad because he was wasting precious slaying.
Well, it's like you're doing a 5K run and you run really fast at the start, and you're just I don't have stamina for this.
Yeah, he lost the race in the end because the Obi-Wan fight wasn't very good. But yeah, that was I think one of the best shots in Star Wars, to be honest, because it's so menacing. This is Darth Vader at his peak, even though a few hours later he's not at his peak.
You know the plans get to the rebels, but because the scene is shot with music and Vader is so menacing in it, you still feel scared. You're like, oh, they're going to do it. For a moment, you forget that they do it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I don't think they're going to do it. Vader's going to kill him. Look at him using the Force, absolutely killing them all.
And the fact it's in a corridor, it's so claustrophobic, and you're only in that corridor. I think they might cut out to the corridor once or twice, but mostly that entire scene, you are there with them, looking around wildly, because it is terrifying. You know you're not getting out of there alive, but as long as the plans get out, then that's what's important. And though they were so brave.
But every time I watch it, I always, for some reason, forget that, oh, they're going to be fine. The plans will get to the rebels. But I always forget. I always think, like, oh, they're going to do it.
Yeah, no, that scene feels like, oh, yeah, the original trilogy doesn't exist. They got the plans. End of story. Star Wars is just this movie. I think for my gift wrap, we said this, but the character moments, the small character moments, I think the writing in this film is very, very good, because the opening scene, they don't do the exposition where it's like, when you left our work 15 years ago to the day and you are the creator of the Death Star, blah, blah, blah. They don't do that. It is very intense dialogue that you don't know what they're talking about, but you know it's important. And when Lyra, the mother and wife, dies, you're like, oh my God. You know, it's just so intense. It doesn't. The film doesn't treat you like, you know, you're an idiot, basically. Not much of Star Wars does that, but sometimes the writing can be a little bit. You know, exposition isn't everything. You know, it can be quite clunky sometimes.
But it's doing show rather than tell me. The way Krennic conducts himself, the way he's with the Death Troopers, the way that Galen just looks like a simple farmer.
Yeah.
It shows he's running rather
and the
than...
epitome of the show... Oh, John, go on.
Oh, no, you go on.
The epitome of the show not tell is when Andor and Jyn Erso are literally about to die. They don't say anything. They don't say, oh, we're about to die, or do like a silly one-line or something like that.
This is the end of the road, kid.
They know it's the end. They don't say anything. They just embrace because they know it's the end. And that is just so impactful, and I think that's amazing. And also some of the little lines, like when he sees Jyn Erso for the last time, he says, like, goodbye, little sister. And then they focus on Jyn Erso's face, and you can see how much that means to her. She's never really had a family, and then just this little ragtag group of people, it's like a found family type thing. In just a small amount of time, these people mean so much to each other because they've been life or death. And then when Jyn Erso's leaning over her father, when her father's about to pass away, just his last line, I have so much to tell you. That was just insane. Could you imagine that being someone's last thing?
It would be someone's last thing.
Exactly. He hasn't seen her in years. He didn't even know if she was still alive. And then he sees her. He has so much to tell her, and he does, but then immediately dies, and then she can't. And then Andor's saying, you have to leave. And it's just such a intense scene. I think every single location there is absolute tears. Every single place they go. So just things like that, I think whoever wrote that, props. Actually, let me search that up. I want to give them a shout out.
While you search it up, I'll talk about one of my favourite shots in the film is the Death Star over Scarif. The way you see it in the horizon of the planet, and it just looks so peaceful. It seems like it's a real moon. And it's just like, oh, that's a nice shot of the atmosphere and everything. Mm-hmm. But there's something inside you which just goes, that's a Death Star. That's not any moon.
Yeah,
that's a Death Star.
Because it has like the crescent on it.
It's weirdly, it's so beautiful, so peaceful, yet so terrifying.
Yeah.
You've got the one where it blocks the sun, but you've also got it just on the horizon, just appearing there.
What was that on Scarif?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're like, oh, there's something big coming into the atmosphere. It's like, ooh, wonder what that could be. And then you know at that point, you got to get out of there. You're done.
And then lastly, this is for my people who like TIE fighters.
You know you're out there.
One of my friends does. TIE Striker. What a cool TIE fighter.
What a cool TIE.
It's so cool. The two wings. I think it's one of the fastest ships in atmosphere as well.
In atmosphere.
Because like X-wings, they're fast, but when it comes to in atmosphere, they're not as fast. They're kind of slow. So it's Scarif because they assume the fighting's going to be done in the atmosphere because they have the shield, they have the TIE strikers. So anything that does come in, they can destroy.
Yeah. I got the writers up. It's Chris White, Weitz, and Tony Gilroy.
Chris Watts?
What? I did not just spell Watts.
Oh, White.
Yeah, yeah. He looks great. Lovely IMDb picture, mate. You look great. The story by John Knoll, Gary Whitta, and based on characters created by George Lucas. Yeah. Thanks, IMDb.
That was part of the
contract
of selling Star Wars, wasn't it? Characters created by him,
Yeah.
always.
Worth the billions.
Yeah. He's probably on holiday in a place like Scarif right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably always on a place like Scarif, to be fair. He doesn't have to do anything ever again. He doesn't even have to grab a remote again. You can just get someone else to do it. Yeah. I wouldn't mind that.
Anyway, this is the end of the Star Wars Brew Crew. Now, one final announcement before we end this is the next episode will also come out next Friday. So this Friday is when it's come out, this episode, and there'll be another one next week. We're going to go to a somewhat regular release schedule and see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope you've enjoyed listening and you stay tuned for the next episode next week. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.